Have you ever heard a story where someone's greatest victory leads directly to their biggest failure? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. It's the story of a great king, a man of faith, who was given an incredible miracle. But right on the heels of that amazing high point, he faced a test, and it led to his most tragic mistake. 15. What's so special about this number? Well, for King Hezekiah, it was everything. 15 is the number of extra years he was miraculously given to live after he got gravely ill. I mean, this guy was literally on his deathbed, and he was given a second chance. Talk about a massive sign of divine favor, right? But here's the crazy part. This incredible miracle, this event that should have been his greatest testimony for the rest of his life, it's what actually set him up for his biggest failure. It's like the miracle opened a door, and on the other side was a test that, well, he just wasn't ready for. All right, so let's get a picture of who this guy is. Hezekiah isn't some villain. He's a good king. I mean, one of the best. The scripture describes him as faithful, a man who walked with a whole heart. And now he's just had this unbelievable life-saving miracle. You better believe he is the talk of the entire ancient world. And word travels fast, even back then. Think about this. News of his recovery traveled over 600 miles across a brutal desert all the way to Babylon. Now, Babylon was the superpower of the day, the most powerful, most sophisticated place on earth. So for them to hear about this, it was a huge deal. So huge, in fact, that they sent a high-profile delegation, sent by their king himself, to check it out. The king who sent them is this fascinating character named Marduk-Baladan. You can think of him as the Teflon man of ancient Babylon. Why? Because this guy was a perpetual rebel against the Assyrian Empire. They would crush him, he'd vanish, and then boom, he'd pop right back up, leading another revolt. So when he hears about a king who literally cheated death, you know he's thinking, okay, this guy has some kind of power I need to know about. So let's be clear, this was not just some friendly get-well-soon visit. No way. This was it, his golden opportunity. These powerful, sophisticated men from Babylon are standing in his court, and they're basically asking one question. What is your secret? How did you do this? This was Hezekiah's moment to point to the God who performs miracles. It was a massive, massive test of his character. So, how does he do? How does Hezekiah handle this test? With these big shots from the wealthiest city in the world standing right in front of him, what does he decide to show them? Remember, they came all this way to find out the secret to his power. They wanted to know the source of his strength, the reason for his miraculous survival. You know, what made this little kingdom of Judah so special that its king could just not die? And this is where it all goes wrong. It's just a tragic disconnect. On one side, you have the real source of his power, God, the God who could literally turn back time and heal a dying man. But on the other side, what did Hezekiah actually show them? His armory, his silver, his gold, his spices. He gave them the grand tour of his treasury. And the irony here is just staggering. He's showing off his treasures to guys from Babylon, the wealthiest, most over-the-top city on the planet. To them, Hezekiah's entire treasury was probably like, oh, that's a cute little collection you have there. He was trying to impress them with the one thing he had that was guaranteed to look small in comparison. So you have to ask, why? Why would this good king, this faithful man, make such a foolish mistake? The answer isn't really about arrogance. It seems to be about something much more relatable, a deep, deep insecurity. Basically, Hezekiah had a massive inferiority complex. You get these slick, powerful guys from the big city, and suddenly he feels small. He feels insignificant. So he tries to puff out his chest and look big and impressive in their eyes, totally forgetting how big he already was in God's eyes. And this really gets to the heart of it. He forgot that with God's resources, those Babylonians were zero. He fell into the trap of comparing himself using the world's measuring stick, not his spiritual one. With God on his side, the power of Babylon meant nothing. He just forgot. It all comes down to a simple, timeless principle. God plus one is a majority. See, Hezekiah got played by his own feelings. He thought he needed to measure up to these guys. But he didn't need their approval. He didn't need their might. He had God. He was the majority. But a mistake like that, it doesn't just get swept under the rug. When you put your trust in the wrong things, there are always consequences. So not long after those Babylonian envoys head home, the prophet Isaiah shows up, and he's got a message that reveals the terrible, terrible price of that little show and tell.
And Isaiah's prophecy is just chilling. It's so specific. The punishment fits the crime perfectly. Oh, you were so proud to show Babylon all your treasures? Great, because one day they're going to come back and take every last bit of it. And then it gets even worse. And your own sons, your descendants, they'll be taken away to serve in the Babylonian king's palace.
And if you think that's bad, just wait till you hear Hezekiah's response. It might be the most shocking part of the whole story. He hears this absolutely devastating prophecy about the future of his kingdom, about his own family, and what does he say? Basically, well, the word of the Lord is good, since there will be peace and security in my days. In other words, whew, glad that's not happening on my watch. It's just an unbelievably selfish and short-sighted reaction.
So when we look back at all this, what's the real takeaway? What was the fundamental flaw that led this good man to such a disaster? See, it wasn't that Hezekiah didn't know how to trust God. He obviously did when his life was on the line. The problem was how he trusted.
It's the difference between crisis trust and lifestyle trust. Hezekiah's trust was a one-shot deal for emergencies. When crisis hit, boom, he knew exactly where to go. But in the day-to-day grind, when the social pressure was on, when he felt the need to impress, he defaulted back to trusting in himself, his power, his stuff. He basically treated his faith like a panic button, not a compass, to guide his everyday life.
And that's what we're left with, isn't it? This final, challenging thought. Hezekiah did so many great things, but this one single moment of insecurity, this one failure to trust who he was in God over how he looked to the world, it stained his legacy forever. And it really makes you stop and think, right? How much of a legacy is built on a lifetime of trust, and how much can be undone in a single moment of fear?